We are so back. Businesses are for sale again. Why am I saying
we are
that?
so back.
We're so back. Why am I saying that?
Oh, brother, we were doing what we normally do, which was surfing through the BBF MLS. If you know, you know. And boy, we were on here maybe 3 weeks ago, and it was a ghost town. We had like
it was
6
barren.
counties,
no businesses for sale.
15 across 6 counties. Insane.
It was ran through. It was more ran through than I'm not even going to say it.
Oh man,
it was ran through.
It was more ran through than a course seller on Instagram telling you that you're gonna get rich by Forex trading.
It's true.
But man, we talked about everything.
The government is open. Businesses are for sale.
This was in the peak of the shutdown.
Broke it back open.
I do think there is something to be said for the timing of businesses popping back up and the government shutdown ending, because that was a huge issue with SBA proposals. So the SBA office is back in full effect.
Most common way to buy a small business for the average person is a small business administration loan. And it was just closed. Yeah. It was closed along with the rest of the government. You could start the process of getting a new loan, but you couldn't get it approved. So a business probably just wasn't going to be likely to sell.
Yeah. And I think also timing is a little bit better in the sense of, it's the holiday season. We're about to hit Thanksgiving here in the United States. We're approaching Christmas time. A lot of people are thinking about family, about kind of the future, about where things are moving towards. So especially for people who are older, maybe have a business that has run its course and is still doing well, but they kind of want to relax. They want to spend more time with their grandkids. That's not just the holidays. Perhaps a lot of people are going, hey, I want to get this thing out and I want to just retire and kind of be there for my grandkids. So we're kind of hitting that point.
That's right. I think you make a great point about just people thinking about it and being more open to it. When you're in the rest of the year, I think people, they're just in their grind and they're not really thinking about the bigger ramifications of this. But we're here for a specific purpose today, a specific industry that we want to talk about. We were thinking about the plumbing industry because a separate deal that we're not reviewing on the stream today came across Ryan's desk and got him very intrigued. And one that we're looking into very seriously in this industry. And it's a great industry. It's a really good one to be in right now because it's very recession resistant. And so in today's episode, we're exploring whether you should buy a plumbing company for 2026.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, the one that I got, it definitely is one that is going to I need a lot of things I need to find a lot of things that will help me make this thing happen beyond just the sale price of it. I need to make sure I have some good experts around me that I've reached out to and kind of talking about it. And as we always say in this thing, you can buy a business without the knowledge, sure, and try to learn on the job. And you don't always want to be a technician who is also running a business, i.e. having that thing, but you definitely don't want to be a guy who's unable to help your technicians and your staff when they have a question about the actual thing. So it's a very delicate balance. But the ones that we're looking at here have a pretty robust staff in place for you to be coming into something that is established.
Yeah, and I think that's the key if you are going to buy a business is like you don't want to have to become Chuck in a truck and just, I mean, if you're buying a plumbing business, really you don't want to just be a plumber that got an SBA loan to have a formal business. You want to have an actual business running. So we've got 2 different deals that we're going to look at that are actual businesses listed for sale.
Which is ironic because most of the businesses that we look at and are being sold are from tradespeople who got the trade, started their own business, and are just, all right, I got it where it needs to be and I'm done. So
it's true. It's true. That being said, I've met a lot of people that run businesses in the trades that just got into it as like a non-technical person that didn't start as a technician. So there's a lot of different routes to that ownership. I think the key is like you need someone in the business that knows what they're doing, whether that's your lead technician or field supervisor, or someone else who's going to be incentivized long-term.
And you also, I mean, to a degree, though, you do need to learn your business. You need to go do ride-alongs. You need to go and kind of know your techs, know your business. You need to understand it. Maybe you're not as technical, but you need to understand the guts of it, which that's how a friend of the show, Patrick Lang, got into HVAC. He bought it from a buddy. He was a financial planner by trade, I believe, and he rode along with his guys. He got he got deep into it, and he has a very robust and successful career in HVAC now. So it can be done.
So let's look at this first deal. This one is contract pending. So unfortunately, y'all probably cannot snap it up if you do have that spare $4.8 million laying around. But this one is listed for a sales price of $4.88 million. It looks like they are willing to finance part of that because it says down payment of 4.392. And it's doing discretionary earnings of 890. So this one's listed for quite excuse me. This one's listed for quite a steep multiple. Specifically, it is listed for about.
Now, what we consider a reasonable multiple is usually between 2.5 to 3 at this range, possibly 3.5, depending on the mix.
I would say 3.5, maybe if it's a really strong, well-run business, maybe even 4 at this level. 4's kind of pushing it though. 4, I would start entertaining around more like the 1 million in discretionary earnings, but they're asking for a 5.48 multiple on this. So
so let's look at that description and see where they're finding that extra 1.5%.
So it is a established family-owned commercial plumbing company, over 30 years of proven success. I do like commercial for plumbing. I feel like it is probably it's probably still pretty emergency based, which you want with plumbing. That's why you make so much money and it's so recession resistant. But it's probably, you're dealing with people that are a little bit more lax, regular. I mean, it's not so emotional as like going into someone's home. I feel like the operations are probably a little bit cleaner and smoother.
Probably. I think, immediately I can say, okay, 30 years with a family name. All right, you're going to add some. If I'm a broker, I'm adding a little bit onto that because of that. I'm going to be like 30 years though. 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if they have 30, especially if they got a good digital presence, they're going to tack that onto that sale price. So there's a little bump right there.
Here's something that's interesting, and I think I found the reason for. I found the reason for why the multiple is so high. There's a significant portion of real estate in there. Real estate is valued at $1.18 million, so they're calling the business a $3.7 million business. Let's see more based on those numbers. You're looking at more like a 4.15 multiple,
okay,
which is not as crazy.
No, that's fairly reasonable, and I feel like you could probably shave off some of that in talks. I think that's a possibility. You could probably get it closer to that 4, if not the 4 on the dot. I think you're selling a lot for that. You're selling a lot for that name and that kind of established thing. But I mean, I don't know if they want to offload the real estate per se.
Here's something that's interesting, though. When there are situations like this, let's say you look at this and you say, one, I'm probably not going to be able to get an SBA loan for, like, the SBA is probably just not going to underwrite it for such a high multiple. Or if they do, then the terms are probably not going to be as good. They probably won't give you like just 10% down. They might require a higher down portion. So just because it's such a high multiple. So let's say you see that and you say, well, I'm only really interested in the business and I don't really care to buy the real estate here. And I don't want to overpay for the business and its cash flow just to get the real estate. If that's the case, there are companies out there that kind of specialize in that. They love to just acquire commercial properties. And so there's real estate investment trusts and things like that out there that will look for deals like this. And they'll actually come in and pay the 1.18 or whatever it is for the real estate, cut that out of the total price that you have to pay. They own the real estate and they sign like a long-term triple net lease with the tenant, with meaning the new owner.
And just for the sake of keeping it kind of quick and clean, 9 times out of 10, if they're separating it like that, they're going to offer you a rental of, if you don't want to buy it, this will be your month-to-month rent. Like, they're obviously saying they would like to sell it, but they're not going to push you towards it. So if you did want to underwrite, you just need to make sure that whatever documentation you got did not incorporate the real estate into the final pricing, because if you send it to get underwritten, they're going to wrap that in. If it's not specifically stated, do not put the real estate into it, which I think you have a good shot without the real estate. I think you might actually get someone who's willing to bite if there's some good contracts.
In the other, I mean, you made a great point there. I think depending on the owner who's selling this, like they very well might want to just hold on to that real estate. I think maybe you go to them and you just say, hey, the real estate has probably appreciated while you've had it a lot. Why not just hold it and let it keep appreciating, and I'll just pay you rent. Just tell me what fair market is, and we decide on that. Cut you some extra cash flow so you don't have to dip into that big nest egg that you get. And that effectively kind of like gives them a little bit of that sale price that they were hoping to get in payments over time, without even giving up the equity of the real estate. So,
oh, for sure. Yeah.
Better deal for them if they don't need the cash, which, you know, if they're getting $3.7 million, then they might not need the cash otherwise. So lots of different ways to cut this. Probably why it's under contract already.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody made an offer. They said no real estate, pay rent, and they were probably able to get it chopped down a little bit. I'm sure it's pretty clean. I mean, what's the overall size of the employee base?
Yeah, great question. Let's see if it gives any details on that. It's pretty bare as far as details go.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it really gives us almost nothing other than that it includes the real estate and it's got a good 30-year track record. So you'd have to kind of get in contact with them to get more details on all of this.
Well, it's under contract.
What you got, Mr. Daryl Jones? So let's look at another one. We got another one that's not under contract. So if y'all have, let's see, if y'all have $999,000 sitting around, you could
if you
snap
got
this one up.
And you got, if you got 90K and you got a lender and a good 50% or less debt to income ratio, this could be a possibility.
Very well could be. Yeah. And so this plumbing company has been serving the community for 27 years. Looks like it does underground utilities, water mains, reclaimed systems, manholes, and more. So very commercial, like the other one. Looks
this is
like
government, dude. This is like those sweet city contracts.
This is interesting. I think I see why they might have such a low multiple on this one. So let's go over the numbers first. They are doing about 1.8 million a year in sales, and they claim to have 778,000 in discretionary earnings.
Now that's
very high margins.
2 rules of thumb: there's no free lunch, and if it is too good to be true, it probably is. Those are kind of the 2 hard and fast rules that we look at everything with.
So yeah, they're saying that it's about a 41% margin, which I find hard to believe.
Yeah, and honestly, with discernible earnings or SDE, we always say shave off about 25 to sometimes 40% of what they say as the actual take home.
So let's call it 500. Let's say it's not 778.
Yeah, give him $500,000, because even that's like
still going to be high margins.
That's after everything. If he's taken home that much,
still 26.5% margins. That's really high. Yeah. So I this triggers my alarms a little bit. Maybe they're in a really great niche where they have higher margins. And, you know, I've heard of companies like that. Ryan and I are looking at an electrical company in town right now that gets 50% margins on certain jobs because they're incredibly niche.
But it's a business where you need to, it's razor thin make or break. When you make it, you make it. And if you break it, you're not coming back.
Feast or famine. It's
truly in some of these like bigger ones. But I like the contracts with these because state, towns, municipalities, you do tend to get pretty good recurring business from these guys, and they usually just want to stick with the same person. So that's a good thing. But those numbers are wonky to me. And the fact they only want $1 million, again, that's a really vague number, 999. Like, what? That's a weird number too, I think, for a broker to represent. But what's raising the red flags in there?
Maybe they're hoping to get a bidding war or something. Looks like there is, this is even more odd. They're saying there's 531,000 in FF&E too, furnitures, fixtures, and equipment. So they're only valuing the actual business at maybe a little under $500,000. What the hell's going on here?
This is why you always dig in, because like again, I really want to believe this is good. Like, what are they saying in the body of it? Like, what's
27 years,
good,
excellent reputation, lots of work with municipalities, repeat work.
Love municipalities.
I mean, I think we should find out more about this one.
It's
probably too good to be true, but I mean, you never know. Maybe you get on the phone with them and they say, "Oh yeah, the $999." I mean, that's just the beginning of the bidding. We're open to hear offers. Last guy offered 2. So what are you guys offering?
There's no harm in asking.
Yeah.
There's no harm in us asking, but I am waiting for the other shoe to drop. I am going to go through. If I get something back from this guy, I am going with it through a fine-tooth.
This girl, Emily.
Oh, Emily. Which brokerage is she from?
Transworld.
Oh, a Transworld broker. Okay.
That's the one that you spoke to before?
No, it's a different
one. Okay.
But
she's only an associate. Maybe she just doesn't know what she's doing, and we can take vicious advantage of an underpriced business.
Something tells me that this is a. I mean, look, I've worked with a few people from Transworld, and what you see is what you get most of the time, and there's always a reason it's priced how it is. So I do believe that this might be more of the owner pricing than maybe a broker pricing. But I think that when you dig in, you tend to find what's going on here. Because, again, the numbers are too good to be true. So definitely one where I'd want to see some information. I'd want to see some financials. We can see more details.
Check it. Okay. Yeah, we opened up a lot more details here. Okay, so it is a corporation. The owner claims to work 10 hours a week.
Red flag.
You think?
To me, you're claiming you work 10 hours a week. That's a load of baloney right there.
Depends how it's structured.
How many employees?
Full-time 4.
Oh, no.
That seems sus. Very sus.
Yeah, 10 hours. Okay.
0 part-time? Huh?
Is this a subcontractor? Is that how they do it?
What is maybe. What's going on here?
Did she just straight up post their info over here with tax returns?
Yes.
All right. Yeah. Get it, girl.
Okay. No 2024 listed. Oh, I remember what I saw. There's something in the description that really sounded suspect. In 2024, sales were impacted when the longtime foreman left and the owner had to step back into operations until a replacement could be hired. So they just don't list. They're just writing off 2024. 2024 didn't happen.
We had a different broker do this where he said this is what 2024 is literally off of 2023.
Literally, you can't make this up.
25,
23, and then
I do like that they put 25. They're like, don't talk about 24.
I mean,
yeah,
this is the real numbers for 2025.
Yeah, you know what? I will say that if 2024 is that horrible, maybe that's why they're asking for $1 million, because they know realistically, if you put those 3 years together, that dip would absolutely ruin the price.
Yep.
Which tracks. So there's the other shoe.
I mean, if these numbers are real for 2025, though, I would almost be willing to look the other way on 2024 just because of how good of a deal it is.
Like, I want to know more about that foreman.
They're not doing like egregious ad backs either. The ad backs start after 643 net.
I do want to know about the issue with the foreman. I do want to understand how that went and what went down, because not that I'm saying that I want to point fingers, but I want to understand was this a retirement? If it was, why was it so sudden? Did he start his own company? Like, what was the concern here? And how did it get this far? Because suddenly leaving and dropping a business like this to the point where they will not post their pro formas, that's a gut punch. So that was probably not planned. So I want to know how that happened, because that's going to give you an insight into what's going on.
Maybe that was their first crack at trying to sell, and he found out and didn't want to stick around.
Which, again, what makes this time different is the question. So
different foreman,
maybe
could be.
But
I like the looks of it though. I mean,
well,
it's definitely checkered with some red flags, but I'm interested.
then you should shoot him an email.
Yeah, how
Let
do
him
I-
know you're interested.
What do you usually do on the BBMLS? You just
There should be one that quick
email. There we go.
Yeah, or you can do the one. Yeah, there you go.
Uh-huh.
So
I'll save that guy for later. So altogether, what would you grade
Sure.
this opportunity?
a C.
A C, just
Yeah.
because of all the red flags.
I guess for me personally, my red flags are going to be 10 hours a week, 4 full-time employees, and 1 foreman. Is the foreman one of the full-time employees? Is the owner one of the full-time employees? He's technically 10 hours, but he's being paid probably like a full-time employee. So I do want to get more color into that. And I do want to see 2024. I get it was bad. I understand that. But I need to know more about how that situation transpired and what went down. Because again, that's a huge, if it was so bad, you won't even post it. Look, I get you brought it back up, but like you had to have the owner step back in and do owner stuff, which 9 times out of 10, owner stuff means pulling a lot of strings and calling up a lot of people. So
I'm going to grade it a B. Here's why. I think this is a fixer-upper. This is like if you bought a home that is distressed and you wanted to rehab it a little bit and then flip it later down the road. The reason I say that is because it's clearly at a discount. I mean, if you got an SBA loan on something like this at 10.5%, which, what is it? Is it
Go 11.
actually it's is it prime plus 3 or 4?
don't remember off the top. But
I think
let's
it's
go-
prime plus 3, so it's actually probably down to 10%. But let's say 10.5 is what it was last time we checked. Your total price for the business could be 1.1, just a little over 1.1 million. Your down payment on that, $110,000. So you got to come up with that. And then you've got 993,000 left over the course of 10 years. So your debt service on a business like this, 99,350, let's call it 100 a year. Let's call it 125 even. I want to be very conservative with these numbers. So let's call it 125,000 a year in debt service that you have to pay. Let's
about
also
10K a month.
Yep, about 10K. Let's call it 10K a month. That's perfect. You're looking at, they're saying 778 in discretionary earnings. Let's say the depreciation's bullshit, the interest expense is bullshit, and the owner salary is bullshit.
Because it is.
Because it very often is. Let's also say, so the 643 net, let's say that the owner is paying them themselves 12,000 in salary, but they're actually working 40 hours a week. So let's chop off another 50 from this net that would have to be added back into salary to pay someone. So let's call it 575, right? 575 in free cash flow that you could expect per year, minus your 120 in debt service. Oops. So 575 minus your 120 in debt service. That's going to leave you with 455 a year in free cash flow. So what I'm thinking when I look at this is maybe it's a major fixer up, or maybe it's got a lot of problems, but could you hire someone for 200 grand a year that really knows what they're doing, that could come in and clean things up?
I think you
Probably.
certainly could. The challenge is finding that person.
Indeed is a powerful thing if used
I-
correctly.
Yeah, I do think
People
it's
think the
hardest-
job market is cooked, that you can't find good people. But then I ask them how many people they've interviewed for the position, and they say, oh, well, I had a couple people get recommended to me, and I ran an Indeed ad for a week and got me a couple applicants. The last hire that I made for just a sales position, I interviewed 50 people and whittled it down to probably 10 good applicants, 5 great applicants, and then 1 that was the best. And I probably could have done better. But I think when people say that they haven't found the right person, like, you should, like, with something like this, you could spin up an Indeed campaign, spend maybe a couple $1,000 on it and really get a lot of, like, I would want to interview a lot of people. I would probably want to speak to I'm not even exaggerating when I say this. For something like this, where you're taking out an SBA loan, probably want to speak to a couple hundred people, if not 200 to 300 people on the phone, at least. Whittle that down to like a top 50 candidates. Have literally 50 candidates come in, just turnstile, in person ideally, or virtually if they're not in town, and do a formal interview, and then whittle it down from there. And I think at that point you find a pretty damn good candidate.
You'd hope so. I mean, it is, finding executive talent is a difficult thing, but it, like you said, it can be done. I think something to consider is that while there is 433 left over, perhaps aggressively paying down that SBA and reducing your monthlies on it, because again, you're paying on your total. So, throwing it, and obviously with SBA financing, you do have to be careful. There are limits to how quickly you can pay it down. So you have to be conscious you're not going over, because guess what? You'll have to pay more. You'll be penalized they will make more money off of you if you try to pay it down early. So
well, at the very least, let's say your debt service is 120 on this and you have an extra 200 grand in free cash flow and you only want to take half of it. Why not put 100 of that just in the bank in a separate account that you don't touch, and it's just there to tap into? And you just kind of load up a little savings account that's just dedicated towards being there for debt service.
I think that's a very smart idea to do it. I think, though, at the end of the year, if there's an extra 20, 40K, you throw it at that SBA loan, reduce your monthlies, because every time it goes down, you're only paying interest on what you owe. So you will see it very quickly be reduced down. So I think this is, if you're willing to look at it, I'm willing to look at it with you. Again, I'm already looking to get into the plumbing space at this point, because right now, I think we talk too much about HVAC, man. There's just
the froth of the HVAC secondary market is slower than it was a few years ago.
Yeah, and I'll say this much. There are good HVAC companies for sale, just none where we are right now, at least, that we can find. If you're out there, hit us up. But most of the great HVAC companies that we've been looking at and that I've been finding, they're all over the country, and I don't want to move at this point. So just kind of, just finding what's local. So for me right now, there's a lot of good plumbing locally. So
yeah, I mean, when we look at the same website that we found the plumbing ones on, there's only two in the same area. There's only 2 HVAC companies for sale, and one of them is under contract and also not a real business. It's 75,000 of a business. The other one actually looks pretty solid, but I think we've looked at it before and it's been there for a while. But there's a lot more plumbing available, and really I think that the secondary market for plumbing right now is better.
Yeah, I feel like everybody talks about. I feel like HVAC got kind of the wind up last couple years, and rightfully so. It's one of my top 3s. I think importance. Plumbing is secondary. I feel like, or one of the top 3. I wouldn't rank them in any order. I just think HVAC, plumbing, electrical, the holy trinity of the stuff. I mean, coming soon, our official rankings of certain trades and certain businesses in the home services space. So be on the lookout for that. But it's definitely one of those ones where I feel like has a lot of potential. Just like with HVAC, you have duct cleaning,
exactly,
and installation.
There are niches.
With plumbing, you have septic work, which was a business line that not a lot of people think about or talk about, but it's lucrative.
Yeah, I think the niches within the trades are the best place to be right now.
Yeah, and a lot of people say the same thing. If you take care of your people, they'll take care of you. So for anyone looking out, you don't have to be a technician to get into the fields and to understand the business, but you do have to actually spend some time learning the people and learning what they do.
It's true. Well, with that being said, I think we found a couple of really interesting deals here. Check out the BBFMLS.com if you want to find these deals. It's a business brokerage site. And until the next time, we'll see you on the next one for some rankings of the top home service companies over the next few weeks. See you then.
See ya.